Did you know that capturing that perfect bird photo could take over 100 attempts? Well, let's learn how to make each shot count. In this video, I'll show you the essential tips and techniques to help you capture stunning bird photos. It doesn't matter whether you're a beginner or an experienced photographer. And if you stay to the end, I will share with you some bonus tips that will help with a couple of the challenges that I'm going to mention. Many photographers struggle with getting clear, beautiful images of birds due to their fast movements and their unpredictable behavior. So, what are some of the challenges you'll face when trying to capture stunning bird photos? Well, one, the subject, in this case the birds, are not popping out from the background. They seem to blend into it. Maybe not having a proper background. The lighting on the birds, they're really harsh. They're not pleasing. It's not eye catching. It's the opposite. Getting the wrong or uninteresting angles of birds, not being in a good position. And that has two parts. So this video is going to cover the artistic side of bird photography. All right, let's get into it. The background is one consideration to take into account. It can help your subject pop out. Set yourself up where you have a couple of different choices for backgrounds as you start capturing the images of these birds. Now, what do I mean about different backgrounds? Now, if everything goes right, your background should be blurred. You won't see any detail. What you will see is tones and colors. Now, if you have one tone or one color, whether it's light or dark, and you don't have anything in between, when you have a light colored bird on a light colored background or a dark bird, dark background, it's not going to set it apart. It's not going to pop out. So by having these different tones, you can play around with your lights and darks, especially depending on the color and the tone of your bird. So just a few feet to your left or to your right could mean the difference between an okay background and an amazing background. The lighting. The lighting, I would argue, is the most important aspect of capturing stunning bird photos, bar none. Remember, photography means drawing or painting with light. So having the right kind of light will make the difference between a mediocre snapshot and an emotionally attention-grabbing shot, right? So for instance, if you're out in the middle of the day, the sun is at its peak, right? It's right above us. It's noon. It's the harshest light possible. Those light to dark tones are going to be super contrasty. You're going to have very dark shadows and very light highlights. You're not going to be able to get details in both. Therefore, your subject is not going to be very flattering. Your image in general will not be very flattering. Of course, there is an exception: black and white photography. Black and white photography thrives on that contrast. It needs that contrast for it to be captivating. That's a whole other video. Instead, try going out and photographing in the early morning or late afternoon, kind of into the evening when the sun is setting. Well, typically about an hour before sunset, right? That's the golden hour. The light is going to be softer. The highlight to shadow roll-offs or the tones are going to be gentler. So you'll be able to get detail in the shadows and in the highlights without any issues. Your subject will look much better in the image. Your image altogether will look better. Now, positioning, I'm going to talk in two parts. The first one that I'm going to cover will refer to how you look at the birds, or more specifically, the angle of which you photograph those birds. The second one I'll reveal in my bonus tips, so stick around. So most photographers starting out will shoot images where they are at a higher angle than the bird. Now this is going to present a few problems. The first of which is that the image is not going to connect with the subject or your viewer or your audience. Whoever is looking at your photograph is not going to connect. The reason being, That top-down angle that we see, everyone sees every day, right? So we're walking, if we're in the city, we're walking along the streets, in a park, along a lake or a pond. We see these ducks and pigeons and other birds from that top-down perspective every day. So something that we see every day is not going to be eye-catching. It's not going to be captivating. Secondly, by shooting in that extreme angle, it makes the background much closer, making it more in focus. Now remember, the farther the background is from your subject, the less in focus it will be. Now, if you missed that video, I'll link it up here. It's my Unlocking the Magic, 3 Factors to the Perfect Blurred Background. There I go in more detail about background blur. So what do we need to do in order to make the image more appealing? Well, if the bird is on the ground, you need to lower yourself to the bird's eye level. By doing that, you create a more intimate image and the background becomes blurrier. The reason being is now the background is further away. Thus, your subject will pop out from the background. Your angle, your perspective is what changes. So your bird is here and you're standing and you're taking an image this way. So with that angle, your background is right here. So anything that's there is going to be in focus. So if you're doing street photography, taking pictures of pigeons or whatnot, if you have any kind of garbage in the background, anything distracting, it will be in focus and it will detract from the attention of your subject. If you're out in the woods, in the forest, and you're taking pictures there, maybe on a lake or a pond, if there's any kind of vegetation, any kind of trash, because unfortunately our ponds and lakes aren't as clean as they used to be, any of that garbage is going to be in focus and it will detract from the bird. So now by getting down on their level, on their eye level, one, you create a different perspective, something that people do not see every day. It will have a better connection and more intimate portrait of the bird. Secondly, by doing that, now your background is no longer here, but it is out, however far away it is from the subject. And remember, the farther it is, the more blur you'll have on that background. I say this part with caution. If the bird is elevated or higher than you are, say it's perched on a tree, you have to elevate yourself and create distance. But this is where I urge you, please, please be safe. I've read articles, photographers do some incredibly dangerous stuff for the image. No image is worth your safety or worse. So please be careful. So what do I mean about elevate yourself? Find a hill, try to go up that hill to elevate yourself and then create distance. As you create that distance and elevate yourself, you make the illusion of being on that same plane. And the reason being, again, is perspective, that angle. Instead of being here, now you're here. So even though you're not completely level with the bird, you give the illusion that you're almost level with it. But please, please be safe. Like I said, no image is worth your safety. Time for some bonus tips. I'm going to start with the second part of position because it could help or it could hinder the background tips that I mentioned earlier. However, it will help with the lighting tips that I mentioned earlier. Plus, it will guarantee not getting the wrong angle shots of your birds, like butt shots. Nobody wants to see the back end of any birds, okay? So the first part of positioning, this is going to help with the lighting. So when you're getting to a location, you want to take 2 things into consideration. The first one, where is the sun going to rise or set? Remember, when I said earlier, the best times to get out there is sunrise, sunset. Be in that golden hour, twilight. Those will be the best times. The light is softer. Your images will be more pleasing. So where's that sun going to rise and where's it going to set? By knowing that, then what you want to do is have the sun to your back. By doing that, the entire subject, the entire bird will be evenly lit, and you won't have any harsh shadows. And not necessarily harsh shadows, but weird shadows, like shadows coming across the face, maybe from a wing flap or something like that. Even in that soft light, you're still going to have shadows. So by having the sun in your back, it will fully illuminate your bird. Secondly, it will avoid lens flare, excuse me, which will drastically reduce the image sharpness. And what do I mean by that? Light coming into your lens will bounce around all over inside the lens before it goes and your sensor captures the image. When it does that, it creates kind of this mist or this kind of dreamy effect where it's very, very low contrast and your image will not be sharp. Excuse me. Now, if you're going for that type of shot, because that is an artistic flair or an artistic view, I guess, then having the sun behind your subject is the way to go. Also, you can get silhouette shots the same way. Have the sun behind your subject. What you need to do is change your settings a little bit. Have your subject underexposed, and then your background will be either properly exposed or slightly overexposed. That will give you that silhouette that you're looking for. Now, that's an extra little tip there. The second bonus tip, and this is where it could mess up with your backgrounds. If at all possible, position yourself where the wind is at your back. So what I mean is the wind is hitting your back and then going away from you. The reason being is just like airplanes and helicopters, birds will take off and land facing into the wind. It takes less energy because the wind is keeping them flying. So therefore, having the wind at your back, the birds will face you and it will give you more opportunities to capture amazing photos. Third reason, when you're doing that, you're capturing behaviors when they land and they take off. That is going to be another part into capturing stunning photos. It's okay to take a portrait style photo of a bird or animal, but when it is doing some kind of behavior, it's acting natural in its habitat, that's going to be even more captivating. That's another video down the road. Make sure that the wind is at your back and you'll have more opportunities. But like I said, that could help or hinder your backgrounds. Approaching birds or animals in general, you want to make sure that you're moving slow and deliberate. Do not make any sudden or jerky movements. That will scare them off, thinking you're a predator and that you're going to eat them. You're not going to stick around. They're not going to stick around. And if a bear or a wolf or something comes after you, you're not going to stick around either. So that's why you need to approach slowly, deliberately, be calm. The closer you get to the bird, the more patient you're going to have to be. So what do I mean? Before you start moving into your bird, it's going to be doing some kind of behavior, whether it's sleeping, it's resting, it's eating, whatever it's doing, it's a behavior. As you start approaching and getting closer to your bird and it notices you, it's going to pop its head up and now it's changed its behavior. Now it's alert. You need to stop moving, freeze, relax, just wait. Let the bird get comfortable. Once it gets comfortable, it'll go back to whatever behavior it was doing before. Then again, you can start moving in slowly, deliberately. If it changes its behavior, you stop. The closer you can get, the more you'll be able to fill the frame, especially if you don't have a very long lens. For instance, when I started, I had an A6500, a Sony A6500 with a 55 to 210 kit lens. I'm sorry, a 55 to 210. Now, in a full frame equivalent, that 210 is about 290 millimeters. Now, not quite 300, and typically you want to have a minimum of 300 millimeters for any kind of wildlife because they're far away and it's hard to get close to them. So this is a tip and a technique to approach and get closer, especially if you have a 300 millimeter lens or maybe a 70 to 200, or if you're starting out, you may have like a 55 to 300 or something in that range. You're going to have to get closer because trying to take a picture from far away, your subject is going to be very small. And then if you try to crop in post production, one, depending on the megapixels, the resolution of your camera, you may not be able to do it. All right. So move in slowly, move in deliberately. It is a patience game, but it is very rewarding on the back end. Oh, also, I highly recommend that you do not wear any good clothes when you go out there. Because, like I said, get low to get those nice, intimate shots. By doing that, you're going to get in mud, you're going to get in dirt, you're going to get your clothes dirty, and you're going to get it stained. My poor wife, I love her to death. I got some clothes dirty that I shouldn't have, and I apologize tenfold because I knew better. I should have wore some older clothes. Thrift them, maybe have some overalls, coveralls, uh, you know, something old that you can get dirty and not have any issues with. With that, also wear colors that are earth tone. Don't wear anything vibrant or colorful. Remember, in the animal kingdom, anything that is very colorful and very bright, vibrant is dangerous. So take heed. You start wearing very vibrant clothing, you're not going to see a lot of animals around. All right, let's recap. The background. Try your very best to get into a position, keeping in mind the bonus tips where you have a few different background tones in there. It will make your subject pop and look more three-dimensional. It's best to go out early morning or late afternoon into the evening to get that best light possible. Remember that at those times, the light is softer and it has that beautiful golden color to it. Also remembering the bonus tips of keeping the sun at your back, right? Because it will fully illuminate your subjects. Lastly, when you're photographing birds on the ground, get low, change that perspective, get on their eye level. By doing that, you create a different perspective that people see every day, from what people see every day. And that will help captivate and capture their interest in the photos that you take. Don't forget the bonus tip to have the wind at your back, because you will set yourself up to have more opportunities to capture better photos and better angles of the birds coming in, landing, and taking off. If everything lines up, the stars are aligned, the planets are aligned, everything happens like it's supposed to. This is what you can possibly get if you follow these tips. After your next bird photography adventure, I want to hear from you. Please head down to the comments and let me know how these tips and techniques helped you out. And if they didn't help you out, kind of let me know, explain. Maybe I didn't explain something good enough, or maybe something could have been done better. We can work it out together. Like I said, I want to build a community where we help each other. And with that, check out my ultimate camera settings for epic bird photos. I'll link that up here. Uh, that will help you with the technical part of capturing those stunning bird photos. If you're not tripping up on the technical part, on why your camera isn't behaving a certain way or why is this setting not working. Knowing your camera, getting that settings locked in means you're done worrying about the technical part and you can focus and concentrate on the artistic side of capturing those beautiful shots. All right. So until the next one, we'll see you.